So today we're going to get started on this MCI. This custom coach is Tom Feller's bus. So if you follow Bus Grease Monkey, he's the one who wrote and sang the theme song. So first things I got to do today, throw these batteries in. They were pretty dead, so he took them out and had them charged for me. So I'll get these thrown back in there real quick. Once we get that started, we're going to start today by diagnosing some fuel and air leaks. When I came out here the other day just to kind of go over it with him and look at the project, I know we have a fuel leak on the return line on the back of this head. But there are some other leaks that we were a little concerned about. I can see a leak coming from here that I'm pretty sure is coming from into this cam where it comes out of the motor. This is an 8V92 turbo D-deck motor. I know we also have an air leak, he said, from the valve here, which tensions the belt of death. So we're going to have to take a look at that and start to see some of the other air leaks we have on it. And that's kind of going to be our focus today. It's Friday, so get that stuff done. He said he's going to go try to get those batteries warrantied out this weekend. So we'll get that done, and from there, I think we're going to inspect all the hubs, go through the brakes on this thing. Let's do some other general stuff to get it ready to go on the road for him. So first things first here, we're going to want to clean these batteries up, because as you can see, they've boiled over. So I'm going to grab some cleaner and some rags real quick. We're going to get the top of this cleaned up so it's safe for us to go work with it. You really don't want to get battery acid on your clothes or skin. I keep a tool bag in my truck, and that's where I usually keep all my aerosol cans, my degreasers, bug spray, stuff like that. But always make sure you keep some battery cleaner in there. So it says right on the can here, this stuff neutralizes acid. So we're just going to spray down the whole top of this because there is a bunch of acid on this battery. So I went ahead and wiped it down. I hit it one more time with the cleaner, and as you can see, we're not really getting that big purple splotches on there, and that's where the acid is. So get it one more wipe down. I'm going to do the same to this one, and we'll be ready to put these batteries in. So we got the batteries hooked back up. But another one of the projects we're going to be messing with on this is some work here in the battery compartment. First off, we have two wires right here, which are completely bypassing any of the shutdown switches. So when this thing sits, the batteries go dead, and it's probably going to be whatever these two are powering constantly. So we're going to want to move those over to the switch. So when the bus sits, that's not a problem. Another thing, if you look at the gauge of the battery cables on either end, we've got this tiny little cable right here connecting the two. That's too small of a gauge. That's going to be a resistance to flow when we go to start this thing, and that's going to cause us problems. So if we upgrade the size of this cable closer to the two battery cables, it'll be easier to start. Alright, let's see if we can get this thing to start. Cleared right up after the start. Now I gotta let it build some air. I really don't like those MCI belts. And another one of the projects you can hear while we're up here. Power steering's whining on it. There is a leak that I need to find in the power steering. Once I find and fix that, I think we're gonna swap this over from 30 weight oil to ATF, and that should quiet it down quite a bit. And I believe this is the final problem we have. Gotta mess with the air wipers a little bit to stop the air leak here. That's one of the air leaks I know that's here. Like I said, the tensioner in the back has an air leak we need to take a look at. And check the rest of the bus over while we're at it for air leaks. That air leak we're talking about on this valve. So now it should be able to build some air. We're definitely going to need to get that fixed. That is a huge air leak. Starts right back up though. Alright, doing the walk around now that it's got air and shut off. I can hear an air leak coming from up here somewhere. Got another one coming from the drive axle somewhere. I can't tell if we have one from the tag area. It sounds like the drive axle one coming back through. Got some leaks in here. I'm about to crawl in here with the flashlight and then start looking for fuel leaks. That valve's got a little bit of a leak to it too. Yep, that's exhaust. That's a little warm. Alright, so the regulator's leaking as well as the valve. So, valve, regulator, valve for sure back here. Plus we've got the two on the axles and the wiper switches. So we'll need to get all those addressed. I'll figure out the ones in the axle areas when I have the axles up on stands. I'm going to be doing hubs and brakes on this. So we'll check those out then. But this one is a pretty nasty air leak until it gets going, and it's still, even when it is going, a decent air leak. So we'll need to get those fixed before we go any further on diagnosing air leaks. Now time to crawl inside the bays here and start looking for leaks. I know we've got fuel leaks, so this thing has a problem with losing some prime. It's just a little bit hard to start when you let it sit. So I know we have one on that return line coming out of the head, and I'll show you guys that in a minute when I crawl up in here. Alright, now we're going to start in on checking for leaks on this thing. So, getting going here. I know right up in here, so there's that brass fitting coming out of the head right there. That is the return fuel line. And we are getting some leaking from it down through here. So we're going to get this line pulled out today at some point and see about getting that replaced, which is not going to be fun because of where it sits down in here. It's going to be a tight fit to try to get that out of there. We've got some leakage on the power steering. So there's the feed line to the pump. That's the return line from the front of the bus. So that line right there should be our pressure line. It's also damp over on that bulkhead there, so we're going to want to check that fitting. Make sure you can see it right there. Make sure that that's tight. See a little bit of dampness coming out of the transmission line right there, so we're going to clean that up, make sure it's tight. That's probably going to cover most of what's here. It's going to be that fuel leak and that power steering. I know we've got leaks on the other side of the engine. It's just not quite as easy to get over there. We've got that. There's some up on the front here, but we'll have to crawl back out of this compartment and go over there to take a look at that. While I'm in here, I'm going to crawl around a little more on the top side up under the intake and stuff here and make sure we don't have any good leaks up. So we'll see if we can get in here a little better and show you. We've got a leak coming from right there, which is the coupler where the blower goes into the gear train. It's not uncommon to see an oil leak there. Same thing, we're gonna have to clean most of these up to see how bad these leaks are. I don't know if this is what it looks like from 10 minutes of running or 10 years. I mean, I can identify most of them pretty well right now. Some of these, it gets a little bit difficult when it's this bad, but I'm trying not to have to move it right now. If I get to one where there's a question, which I'll show you on the other side what that's gonna look like, those areas are gonna have to get cleaned. But we're just trying to get a starting parts list going right now, get some parts coming in for it. And, ow, I just smashed my head into the bay. Yeah, start getting parts coming for it. Also gotta be careful when you're inside these. There's stuff to hit your head on everywhere. Alright, so we're gonna continue our leak checking here on the back side of the motor. So, fuel filters look pretty good and dry. I don't see anything on the lines. Do see a path right there where it's been hitting and knocking the dirt and grease off, but doesn't appear to be coming from above it. So that's going to tell me we got a bad seal right there that's leaking. Looking down in here, it looks pretty dry around the crank pulley. Everything looks to be around the outside edge of it, so that's a good sign. Get up in here near the fuel pump. I can see a little bit of dampness. Probably gonna have to get my mirror, check the back side of that, because this is a D-deck motor. So we have a lot more stuff in the way on the top. But when you come over here, you've got some pretty good leaks. Probably need to grab a bigger flashlight. You guys are gonna be able to see that. But you start figuring out where some of those are coming from. He said over the winter this thing left a puddle pretty much in the shape of the motor and transmission on the floor. So we got to start addressing some of these to take care of that problem. See if we can get the leaks to a little more manageable number. So I don't have near as good access on the other side here. Air filter housing is in the way. I've got my arm shoved in. Got a little bit of a leak from the bottom of the generator right there. I don't think that's too terrible. We have a nice oil leak down this side of the motor, just like on the other side. And with the pulled up oil in the valley from that blower seal, where the blower connects into the gear drive, I'm going to take a guess and say that's probably where most of this oil is coming from. It's right down the side of the head and the block right there, and then it's just soaking the side of the motor. So, probably going to have to take care of that one too. Come back and close that door. It's right up against a fence, so I don't have a lot of room to get in back there. So, we've got an oil leak on the blower drive. We've got our oil leak here. We have that fuel leak on the return line. I can see a little bit of dampness around the fuel pump here. I still need to get my mirror out of the truck and try to do some more investigating on that. I might have to get my inspection camera out. But that's what I'm seeing for leaks on the engine for right now. Everything else is looking pretty good. So I'll investigate this one up a little bit more and we'll go from there. Alright, so I'm pretty happy with what I'm seeing on the fuel system. So I know that we need to get this fuel line replaced here. But before I take this off, I'm going to want to shut the fuel line off right down there so we don't bleed back to the tank. So there's a valve right there sticking up right here. It's got no handle on it though. So I'll get in there with a pair of pliers and we'll see if I can get that thing turned off. Alright, I went ahead and got the bus all closed up. I think that's going to be it for today on this bus. Looking at some of the stuff it's going to need, I do need to pull every wheel off of it. All the brakes and hubs are going to get gone through. There's going to be some mess when I go to drain all the power steering fluid out of it to replace those hoses in the back. So we went ahead and made the decision that because of all that, we're going to go ahead and get this thing moved over to the shop. It's less than an hour away from here to the shop. It's actually closer for me to work on. And then I'll have Chris able to help me with it, because it's going to turn into a job where I think I'm going to need an extra set of hands on. So everything's still usable right now. It's how we drove it over here. And I think next week we're going to try to get this thing moved over to the shop. And then we'll continue on tearing it apart and getting some hoses made for it. We'll get the hubs inspected. See if we can find those two air leaks on the drive and the steer axle. And we'll just continue on with that stuff. Heading out to the shop today. Rolls-Royce Silver Spur, hell yeah. Well, we got the bus out here. It's amazing how small a silver size looks when you set it up next to something like this.